Welcome, everyone. This is season 3, episode 30. We do have a special guest here. We'll get to Doug in a moment, but I want to talk about jerseys. So I'm going to tell you a story about when I was there this weekend. Eagles game. Absolutely a sea of green. Just absolutely awesome. They take care of you. There's the inside, there's the outside. Jerseys did a great job. So I appreciate the hospitality they showed me. If you are in the Glenside, Montgomery County area, check out Jerseys. So they are at 2609 Mount Carmel Avenue. Jerseys, sports bar, and pizzeria.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about a couple of our other beer sponsors. Here's Iron Hill. Chris and I were there last night. I got the Philly Favorite IPA. This is the Phillies can, so it's in red, but they do have the Eagles can out now, so all the buildings are in green. But we were there last night. Great happy hour. Great list of beers. Great staff. It was a nice night. And then we have Dr. Brew Littles in Maple Shade. This is their Doc's Orders Pale Ale. Their tap room, they had about 15 beers on tap. It's a pet-friendly facility over in Maple Shade. They donate a lot of money to pets and pets care. So if you're in the Maple Shade area, stop in and ask your distributors to get Dr. Brew Littles in and give them a try.
And without further ado, we have Doug here from Well Crafted, and I'm drinking the Blonde Americano coffee stout. It's pumpkin, absolutely crazy. So before the show, Chris's daughter, he also gave her one of these.
Nice.
And her future son-in-law,
possibly,
if you allow this.
If I allow it, yeah.
Rave reviews. And so I'm so thankful for you to be here and kind of like, let's talk about some beers.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Well Crafted.
It's awesome. Appreciate it.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking our birthday beer. So this was actually, I don't know if you guys can see that. Boom. It comes out tomorrow. So we canned it this morning. So I started my day off canning. I mean, I didn't can, but I was with the guys that were canning, and they made me try it at 10 in the morning. And I was like, this seems like something I should bring over here to test out,
Yeah. So what's the birthday?
So this is our 7th birthday.
Okay.
So, when we opened in Lansdale back in the day, we're actually doing a big food truck Friday event in our Ambler location tomorrow.
Okay.
And so we have, a bunch of food trucks. We got live bands. We've got a, great lineup of beers. A bunch of vendors that kind of come to it too. So it's an awesome, hangout in the yard. So if you haven't been to Ambler, I know you guys have been, but like we have a big green space. Everybody brings their lawn chairs. So It's a lot of fun. We love them.
So people hang out there tomorrow. Ambler outdoors. It's still nice. It's beautiful. It's September. Steve is putting it in his calendar now over here. So I kind of figured that. So tell us, what was the spark that, led you to start Well Crafted, and, what did you want it to stand for?
Yeah. So, my neighbor and I, Rick, we started brewing for 13 years together as home brewers. It seems like forever ago, because it's probably like 20 years ago now, but, so we brewed together and really got into it. He was the master when it came to the recipes, and I was the guy that had to like grind the grain. But like it got to the point where we were like, he like built his entire garage around brewing, and like it was awesome how we had it set up, and we were like knocking out beers like every week or two. So another one of our partners, Joe, we called him. We're like, dude, we've got to get rid of more beer because we couldn't drink it fast enough. So we were making it in barrel quantities. So we each took a little bit of it. And then Rick went and got into an apprenticeship, and he went in school for it. And he was at Barron Hill with Andrew Foss from Human Robot.
Yep.
So we actually like got him in there, and we were like, dude, we should just be doing this. So at the time, the General Lafayette, which was Barron Hill, we had the opportunity to move in there, but then the landlord ended up moving the equipment up to our Lansdale location. So we kind of all of a sudden went from like what was brewing in the basement of a old haunted inn to like a full scale tap room. So it was like a year and a half for us to get up and running, but we immediately went from this small idea to like, oh shit, we're running a brewery. So
yeah. So it's funny, like your friend built a garage to be a brewery, and I built a garage to imbibe his, brewery goods.
Exactly. We actually got approved by the township to put a 10-barrel system in my backyard. Wow. But then like the next administration like came in and was like, what happened here? And they claimed that Red Hook had like an explosion and that like a tank could explode. So like They kind of they nixed that one, and we're like, look, we already bought the system, like it's already up in another location. But I was kind of hoping to have the option, so I could always have a brewery in my backyard that I could sell commercially, but didn't happen. Next dream. So
I have some land here, so maybe we can talk.
Yeah, we could get it all started in the backyard.
So I love the name Well Crafted, and it seems like it's a very intentional name. What does that phrase mean to you in the beer/brewing world?
Yeah, our name is always my favorite story. So when we started brewing, we were brewing with well water. So one of the unique things about our two houses, they're next door. So we had this like source and kind of this water table. And water is like obviously one of the most important ingredients. And with our well water, the minerals like help bring out some of the hop flavors. So like we got really good at beers and won some awards because of the fact that we were brewing with this water. As time progressed, you know, we were mixing in RO for little things, and we really like studied the water. When we moved to Lansdale, we weren't brewing on our own wells anymore. So we were like, what are we going to do? Are we going to change the name? Like, are we going to own it? Like, and we did some surveys, and people were like, you got to own it. You know, so Well Crafted went from being well water to like, we have to be good at what we do. Like, I always have to put out quality products. The irony is when we went back to Ambler actually runs off of 5 municipal wells. So Chris was here this whole story last week when I took him on a brewery tour. And that all of a sudden put us back in this game where we're like, yeah, we got well water again. Now we do condition the water with an RO systems because we really want to make sure consistency's there. Because when you have 5 different wells, you don't want like different beers to take different ways all the time. So that's where the name came from. So, and now we just got to make good beer. Otherwise we suck at our name, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And having that double meaning is really, it's cool because, you know, you want to do your job well, but you know, if you're drawing from a well, then, you know, that totally lends itself to the name. So it really sounds like you kind of have to think on your feet when you're doing this, and as your business grows or as your business moves. What are some of the things that you look for in a new space? Because I mean, I'm familiar with little familiar with Ambler, but I lived in Lansdale for about 8-10 years, something like that. And I know that the beer scene has exploded there, right? Somewhat, but you guys have been there for a while. So what was it like trying to get your foot in the door, and what did you have to kind of adjust with your business model and your brewing?
Yeah, it's been an ongoing thing. You know, when we opened 7 years ago, it was like haze craze time. You know, we were like all kinds of fruited sours were coming out. And everybody kind of had these big spaces, you know, like, and outdoors was important, but like, it was really line life back then, you know, as time progressed, we went from opening Lansdale with 3 sandwiches and like, you know, 100 people went in and sat down and asked for table service. And we were like, no, you just order at the bar. So like 2 weeks later, we had to put servers in place. So, so that adjustment was kind of this immediate, like, oh, we're not just a brewery. We have to be something else to kind of play in the game. Lansdale has been awesome because I mean, it's a community that we've gotten, you know, involved with and all the stuff that we do. And Ambler's the same way too. But, you know, in the beginning of Lansdale, it was the music, it was the art and like all the stuff that went into it. And the beer was really important. Like we released beers. I think we released over 90 beers in the first year, all different styles. And, you know, people would come. They'd come to try the different beers. We were teaching people, like they didn't have saisons in a lot of the locations in Lansdale. So we were putting out saisons because we could make them fast. And then people were like, what's your Miller Lite equivalent? We're like, oh, you're going to like this saison. As time has progressed, we've seen a lot of changes. Like line life's kind of gone away. You know, we've really seen we've seen the community aspect still there, but we've also seen like these amenities that come through. Like, you know, when we went to Ambler, like one of the big things for that was the fact that it was a tasting room, but it had outdoor space, you know, and we had a food truck program there. We've now actually gotten to the point where we have our own food truck, because if you talk to any brewery owner, like some of them get lucky and the food trucks like come from all over the place, but you know, it's you're rotating and you're rotating and rotating, and like a Phillies parade comes up, and all of a sudden our tires flat if a Phillies parade's going on, right? Like so, or Eagles parade or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So it's been cool to get on that. We do, you know, there is a variety that we miss out on that, right? But you know, in Lansdale, we've had to adjust even further because we don't have outdoor space, and now we've got tribute bands, like, which is something that we had to upgrade our whole experience when it came to music. And our kitchen, we just did a huge renovation on because people weren't looking to just eat a sandwich anymore. They wanted a full meal. And we often find that like the Ambler location is like brewery centric. It's a big 11,000 square foot space, whereas like Lansdale now is more like the culinary expertise for us. But it's still a brewery. We still make beer there, so we still make a good chunk of our beers there. But we've also got like a better food program that we've put together there. So
I'm going to go to some comments here.
Oh, we got comments.
So Jared is my neighbor right across the street. He wants to talk about the concept of blonde stout. And
yes.
How is a blonde a stout?
It's a crazy thing. So like we stumbled upon it years and years ago. And the thing with the blonde stout is it's blonde in color, but as you've had it, like it's got the mouthfeel of a stout.
Absolutely.
So, and what's cool about blonde Americano is it's not like a 10% stout, it's 5.8, but like, because it's a stout, it blends into different flavors really well. So you're doing pumpkin spice. We have an Irish potato version. We've done a s'mores version, like a gingerbread version. The s'mores and the pumpkin spice the Irish potato and the pumpkin spice are the best, but they all have their own thing that they do it. But yeah, there's a couple other white stouts out there. We did for a little while call it a blonde ale, but then when we started giving it to people, they're like, oh, this is really more in its own category of white stout. So,
and another, John is a huge fan of the blonde Americano, and John, you'll correct me. I think it's your brother-in-law is the mayor of Lansdale, Gary.
Oh,
so I go
Gary.
to the Union games with Gary and John.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. He's like, wait, I know Doug, and Doug is like connected with Gary, and it's Lansdale. So, but John is going to the Lansdale. John, go to the Ambler tomorrow. I know you're closer, but there's, it's a birthday party.
We do have a great band called the Percolators tomorrow night at Lansdale, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So, I mean, we have to make sure both of them have fun things to do, and you'll also have the birthday beers there as well. So we have a stout we're going to open up in a bit here. So,
well, that's awesome. Let's see if there's any. So one of the things we do here, a lot of the people, and this is Steve saying FTM, so it's fuck the Mets. So we're going to get a lot of FTMs. Which we love to bring up on the page. So it's, kind of one of the things that we do.
I appreciated your comments about, being in a marriage where it's a Phillies and a Mets fan together. I'm fortunately married to a Phillies fan, so, it's easier in our household. But
yeah,
you guys had a lot of good logic last week, and I was proud to hear that.
Tell our wives that.
That's the first time we ever heard that. So I love hearing that. So Mike says you have to hit up. So,
yeah, you should.
Appreciate that. So just going back to the well water, I have one more question before we move on. When Ambler has these different wells, have you known that you can only brew certain beers at Ambler and you don't want to do them at Lansdale because of the water, or is it so consistent at both?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
So with our water filtration systems and what we have in place, we have confidence in like what we're brewing for those, but we try really hard not to move beers. So like Hopmonger, we didn't move Hopmonger for almost a year until we were confident that we could brew it in Ambler in the same setup and like make sure it tasted the same. So we actually released Hopmonger as a birthday beer with a couple different hops because we know like what the actual taste was, so that we can make sure it worked, because we didn't want to put 20 barrels of it out into the market. So, but we do a lot more lagers. We do Kolsch's over in Lansdale, and then like the Americano series, the Ciros, the West Coast of the world, those are all over in Ambler now.
Okay.
But the West Coast, that was one of the first ones we moved, because that could kind of, with the bitterness, it could kind of take it a little bit easier than a hazy IPA does.
Okay.
So good question. I like that one.
Thank you. So, the next one is, what are the vibes that you're looking at Lansdale versus Ambler? Like, if you were to say, like, I want to go out tonight and I want music, where would you say to go?
I would go to Lansdale for the music side. Yeah, we have acoustic acts at Ambler, but like Lansdale is literally built around a stage, and like we've got really good sound and stuff like that there.
Yeah. So tell us about the music that's there, that you've recently done and that's upcoming.
Yeah. So we actually have a Fave Grohl is a Dave Grohl, like Foo Fighters tribute band coming up on Saturday. I've been waiting all summer for this show, but we do a thing with Grunge-a-Palooza, which brings us a lot of our grunge acts. We've had Sublime, we've had Red Hot Chili Peppers. These are the names, not the tribute names, but they're actually the Red Hot Philly Peppers, which were awesome if you can see that.
That is awesome.
So we've got those, but then we like every Saturday we do tributes. So like we've got a Petty Band. We just had a Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix one last week. We've done U2. So like Saturdays are kind of where you go to get that nostalgic, and it's cool because we were a little nervous about them to start with, but then you watch people getting in and dancing and singing, and like it's like you're in a show, But then Friday nights we do like more of the party bands, like acoustic acts, and like people that are coming out to have a good time.
Jeff Perlman, Keep
the Change was there last Friday,
Yep. Love Jeff. Thank you.
Great guy. Intro to us. Yeah. So I think he's got to come play us sometime for you guys.
I would love that. That would be a highlight. So is there outdoor space at Lansdale, or if someone wants to be outdoor, would you say at Lansdale, would you want to go to Ambler, because there is so much green space?
Yeah, Ambler's got the outdoor space. During COVID, we actually set up a beer garden across the street, which was awesome, but we couldn't bring it back after some landlord changes across the street. So maybe we'll get another couple shots at that. But like Ambler's got our beer garden, tables and chairs, and like the green field around the corner. If kids want to run, like, don't run in the beer garden, but like you can go run around the corner,
Yeah. So, and it's got the Edison lights going across. It's like beautiful. It reminds me of like in here a little bit with the wood.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
Vibe is a big thing, like when you go out, like you want to feel like you're in a comfortable space. You want to feel like you're having fun. You want things that kind of can trigger conversation as you're going through it. So I feel like sometimes we don't get out enough, and we gotta go back out to the bars and then see things and feel things and talk to people
from a customer perspective as opposed to an owner perspective.
Right.
You're saying, yeah.
Well, I need to go to bars too. I got to point of my own.
Why not?
So Doug, I'm excited to try all the beers that I got from Chris last night, but is there a particular style that you guys really focus on, or you think you do the best, or are you more excited about offering a variety of different styles of beer?
We do offer a variety. If you look at what we put in the stores, it ranges from, West Coast and hazy IPAs all the way through, grapefruit kolsches into cream ales, right? Like we're one of the few people brewing the cream ales, right? Like I saw you had Filio over there earlier. Our hazies are really good. Everybody loves a hazy, but our West Coast, like Colonel Forbin, is one of my favorite beers. And there's a lot of bars now that are putting it on nitro, which has been awesome. So we've seen a lot of movement on the nitro side. So Jersey's doesn't have it on nitro, but like Jersey's a great place, but Union Jack's up the road is a place that they have Forbin like all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I think when we started to go out into the world, like we were kind of like always looking at the tap lineup and saying, hey, like we got a beer for that. Like we weren't trying to take the Hop Devil off of draft, right? We were trying to figure out what was going to fit into the world. As we've progressed, we've gotten a little more street cred, and now we know what styles fit into which brewery, but we try to brew a little bit of everything. Our Biz Cash is in a lot more bars too. So like that's becoming a little, the Pilsners, kind of took over the scene. So the hazy world kind of is still important, but like we've seen a lot more Pilsners and lagers going out.
So my work is complete. Moving it from the IPAs to the Pilsners. I'm like so thankful. I've been like campaigning for that for years, and these guys are laughing, but I was like, oh, let's do lagers and Pilsners. Let's get back to that.
Yeah, well, I'm with you, Chris. The Pilsners, the ales, the lagers, like
over the IPAs, right?
We have a variety pack. So I don't know if you guys have seen our variety packs. We have two variety packs. One's called the Manga Variety Pack, which actually is a rotating hop series, and that's like a double, a little guy, and then the regular one, and then the rotator. Our other variety pack's literally called Not an IPA. Like it's a not an IPA.
Very smart. Yeah.
And it does really well because it's a Pilsner, it's a Kolsch, it's a cream ale, and then we rotate that right now, and it's a wit beer right now. But that's a lot of fun. Like we tried to figure out how to let the brewers like do their thing so that we can get something to change. But like when you're our size, you have to go buy thousands and thousands of boxes. And we're like, this is like a year commitment. We want to be able to do some fun stuff.
So what beers are in the pipeline? Right now, when are you looking for it? Is this Christmas? Is this post-Christmas? What are you doing?
Well,
yeah.
It's funny because the beers that you're drinking now, we have to start buying it, stuff for it in June to start making in July. So right now we are getting into, this type of time of year where the fall is now, we've got Short Schwartz, which is a dark lager that'll come out in the next week. We just brewed the barrel-aged stout, but Wolf Pajamas and all the other barrel-aged stouts will come out the week before Thanksgiving. Grit and Juice, which is our, mandarin orange kind of flavored IPA.
Okay.
We won't talk about the reference there. It's a juicy beer.
Yeah.
That's on its way out really soon too now. So we actually have a brand calendar for inside the tap room and outside so that we can track it, because it used to be that we'd be like, what are we going to brew? What are we going to brew? But now it's if we know the Weisenheimer does really well in the fall, let's get it out there. So
yeah.
But then there's also the things that we're trying to slide in. The brewers were like, hey, when are we going to brew the smoked beers? We gotta plan for that. Yeah. So Gone Squatchin' is one of our smoked beers, and it's amazing. So
loving that.
But yeah, so we're starting now to plan out what's going in October. We're not even planning. We're starting to brew what's coming in October and November. And then December, we don't make a Christmas beer per se.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got all kinds of beers that line up, but we're
winter beer.
Winter beers. Yeah. But I would live off fest beer for the next 3 months if I couldn't hibernate with it. But and I'm one of the only people in the brewery that it's I like a nice spiced ale, But everybody else is let's get on to the next round of stuff. So.
So Doug, Philly's kind of popping with the craft beer scene. What do you guys do to make your beer stand out in such a competitive environment?
I need you to tell me that, actually. Can you help me there? We go hang out with you guys.
There you go.
We spend a lot of time in the market with samplings and tastings and talking to bartenders. The thing is when you get a bar that takes your beer on draft, it's not just putting the beer on draft when you're our size. We're young. We have to go and tell them what it is. And when I give you a hop monger and I say, here's a hazy IPA, it tastes different to you when I say, here's a hazy IPA. It's got hints of Meyer lemon and, peach and candy. There's this way that you sell beer that engages somebody instantly, right? And they're like, oh, I know what I'm looking for. I'm on the hunt for these flavors. So we have to be talking to people all the time. And it's not just bars and restaurants anymore. I just came from a tasting at an apartment complex, right? Which is weird, but these places are immaculate now, and they have these bars inside of them and all this other stuff. And you got 300 to 400 people that live there, and you spend an hour with them, and they get familiar with your beer, and you're learning about it. And festivals are also huge. This last 2 to 3 years, it's been festival after festival. We just got done with Music Fest. We're going into the Ambler Oktoberfest. We've got Beer Fest that we just came through. So there's a lot of avenues. But you've got to kind of be there for the people so that they know what to get to. So
do you put peach rings physically,
No, it's all in the hops.
Oh, okay.
So each hop
has this.
Yeah, they all have a distinct flavor.
Okay.
And
I was I'm thinking it's some in mesh bag and it's dumped in. I'm like, oh my god, it piqued my interest. I was like, okay, I need to know more.
It's just gummy worms going in.
Right.
No, we don't do that. Those are kind of a mess. We do put whole beans inside of the blonde Americano, so that is,
okay.
Really, there's no hop that tastes like coffee. But a lot of the this beer, for example, Nelson and Galaxy and Citra, they all have different flavors like pineapple or tropically. So
okay.
So Doug, if I were to bring some friends in and it's their first time in one of your spots, what's the one beer that's always available that you think every new person that walks in the door really ought to try?
Oh, it's tough. We're a flight brewery still, so we try to line you up with the flight. But in that flight, we try to get you the hop monger so you can try that. We try to get you the blonde Americano so that you can try some of that. We usually get you a Biz Cash so you can get in the Pilsner. And then we love getting people into Filio. So Filio, we call it an easy drinking ale on the front of the can, and then on the side it says cream ale, right? We were so excited when that got approved that way. But people think that cream ales have lactose in them, and it's not that at all, right? There's corn, there's maize in it, right? So it's not something that people are like comfortable with until they try it. And once they try it, they're like, oh, this is the kind of beer I like to drink. And you're like, yeah, like this is one of the few American styles, by the way. And like, this is, something unique to us. So, and we love kind of getting people on that adventure, but those are kind of the four, but we always have, we've got 19 beers on draft at each one. And well, now we have a seltzer as well. So like, if you go to our locations, we have Drop, which is our seltzer line, because we've also got a lot of people that come in looking for gluten-free options. So
have you ever delved into an NA just for some of the lighter side?
Yeah, so NAs are super interesting because there's different ways to make them. So we've actually delved not into NA beers, but like we call them NA alternatives. Like, so, like the hop waters and the hop teas, like we are huge on the fan of hops without having to get into all the sophistication of like what the yeast does. But it's not to say that we're not looking at it. There's all these crazy things like de-alkalization right now where you can like literally ship your beer someplace and they give you back your beer in an NA format and then like the alcohol you can use for seltzers. So that it's becoming like a big thing. And we get asked for them all the time. So people do look for NA, and like it's not just a health kick. Like there's all kinds of different reasons to have NA beers. And it's back to one of the reasons that your tap room can't just be about like hazy IPAs all the day. Like it's about getting people in, having a good time, and like some people don't drink,
So this flight that you said that, you were talking about, I think it's, if anyone's watching, that's going, that's the TPF flight. So like now we're going to call it that. It's not officially that, but it's got the blonde Americano. It's got the Philly Yo. We're going to call it that.
It's in the works.
Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to ask, did you ever brew something that was a one-off or an experiment that you didn't know how it was going to go and it actually took off?
You're drinking it right now.
Really?
Yeah. Blonde Americano was an experiment that we were like, oh, like, we had similar styles and we're like, what if we do this? Because when we first opened, we brewed a coffee porter. And then we made Blonde Americano kind of like when we were trying things. Mm-hmm. And then unfortunately, rest in peace, Midnight Love, that coffee porter went away. Somebody actually asked for it last week. It's been 7 years since we've had it. And then Blonde Americano took over. We didn't want multiple coffee beers on draft. But yeah, we've done Blonde Americano. We've done a lot of things with, fruits, like where we get into it. Some that have worked, some that haven't. We made a pickle beer. Like we actually made a spicy pickle beer. You've had it? Steve's had it. So
no figure.
That's no surprise. You're going to hear that a lot tonight.
Anybody listening in Strasbourg that's going up to the Pickle Fest this weekend or next weekend, that was one of those things where like people enjoyed it for a little bit. It was a partnership thing where we'd actually worked with somebody who was looking to do it. Bill from 313 South up in Bethlehem. But like that, like those styles you're not going to put in a can. Like we don't want to be the brewery that's got the pickle beer that everybody wants all the time. We want that to be something fun that we do that's different, and we do that by adding adjuncts to different beers. Like we try stuff all the time. So
cool. I love that.
So being in the Philly area, I assume that all of your patrons are Philly fans, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, but there are bound to be some stragglers who come in. Do you notice a difference between Philly fans and like out of towners or just local back off Mets fans?
Oh God!
Is there a difference
Here we go.
Is there a difference in what they drink or how they drink or how they act after they drank?
Yeah, the Mets fans ask for Coors Light first. Boy. No, I'm just kidding.
He's one of us.
I think like game day beers are different than like drinking beers, right? Like, so this is where like you got to plan game day special. So like I love the energy when we have a Phillies game on, right? And I love, especially when it's like 9-10 at night, we're up by 6, or maybe we're in a close game. And all of a sudden everybody's conversations at the table stop and like they're all pointed at the screens and like they're clapping and cheering. There's nothing better than those nights. We don't like have a lot of Mets fans that come in together, so we don't have them cheering and screaming. College game days, obviously those get to be a little different, but
sure.
And then the Eagles fans are the same way. Like it's Philly sports are, amazing. The only place I would put above, the Eagles would be the Bills, which we all can be friends with. So, but go Bills for tonight. But
we love the Mafia.
Yeah, but I'm from Rochester, so but like the absolute like the love that everybody has for the teams. The only thing that's a challenge is when everybody gets angry. So
we don't know anything about that.
But yeah, so I always am like looking for like the night that you have that big loss and you're like, okay, like what's gonna happen at the end of the night? So, but this is the time of season that starts. Like Red October is when everybody's like, they get really into it. So, and everybody wants to be the coach at the bar, and they're like yelling at the screen, and we're like, it's cool. We try to keep a bartender or two around that knows sports well enough to kind of coach them back.
So I love it. So you're touching on like kind of the atmosphere in your tap room. So especially with sports fans who can be crazy, and if you follow DPF, you know that we can be a little crazy at times. But do you have any memorable like events or things that happen in the tap room that that'll stick with you forever, either positive or negative or just crazy things that have happened?
No, yeah, I mean we've had when we have the parties, like when we have the events where everybody comes together, like we do Hellcrafted in October. So that's like we turn it into like the Halloween Mecca. But then you get into these Halloween parties, like those were fun. We had a Roaring 20s party where everybody dressed up and came in. It was like a New Year's party. And like you always connect with somebody and like they come back and they tell you that. We've never had bar fights. We're hoping, knock on wood, to not have those. Like we don't see that. We always have that random person that comes into a show that comes off the street and just starts dancing. And then you're like, what? Like, and they weren't drinking at our place. They're just dancing, so I think, those things always kind of ran in. My favorite part in Ambler, like when we, sometimes at late night, like it's not always but like some nights it just settles down and goes out. And then every now and then you'll get that, like the bartender will start to kind of DJ a little bit. And then all of a sudden the bar starts getting a little loose, and like, at the end of the night, sometimes people like at a food truck Friday will be like, "Is there gonna be dancing over there?" And we're like, "Well, I don't know. Like, we don't advertise that. Like, but yeah, everything every week is like a different thing, and you get all these people in from out of town. Sometimes, like we had an event last week where people were coming from all over the country, and like they just get into it, and like that's the thing about beer, like. There's never a bad day in beer because you're always drinking beer, right? But and there's always like a conversation that goes around it.
So Chris asked this question, and I'm glad you didn't mention my name at any of these, terrible situations. So I appreciate that, Doug. Thank you.
We have not had any DPF fans come in screaming. So.
Chris hasn't gotten up on stage and done jump around or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I'm available.
We do have a lot of people that get angry at Mets fans though. Like that does happen. Like I was talking to a guy last week at the bar, and like he asked me to put the different game on him. Like the Phils are winning. He's like, yeah, but I'm a Mets fan. I'm like, you have to watch this. Like you have to get to the end of this.
That's a no. Unless he's the only one there, then you still say no.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, guys.
What's one beer style that you have not brewed that you want to brew? Like, this something that's out there that's like, I want to try this.
Yeah, it's like a silly one, right? Like, and we were just talking about this last week. Like, we haven't really made an ESB. Like, it's something that like is coming back. Like, a lot of people are doing that. We've made brown ales, we've made red ales, we haven't really made green ales, but we've dyed them. But yeah, when you get to like some of those styles, like it's just that time. Like you're trying to figure out where to get it in.
Yeah.
But we do make smoked beers, like which a lot of people don't, and then we get bad reviews on Untappd because people are like, "Oh, I didn't like smoked beers." We're like, no, we knew that when you got into it. So like, you get a 5-star review and a 1-star review, so we're not afraid to do different styles.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of like getting them into the schedule and like knowing what you're doing. So, but yeah, we got to get an ESB out there. Some point.
Extra special bitter.
Yep.
Love it. Yeah,
our pumpkin's called our Gordo, which is the other one I think we got. That's an ESP, so the extra special pumpkin. So, but
we're getting there. It's a gateway to.
Yeah, it's a gateway. We're close. Well, here, can I ask that question back to you guys? I know you're asking me questions, but like, what styles are you guys looking for?
Oh my gosh! So I want to bring Steve.
I was going to say
Steve has to like
because he's had to crack this barrel. I'm going to crack this barrel aged stuff.
Oh yeah,
because I know that we don't have.
Grab a.
All right, this is the 7th anniversary barrel aged rye. It's in a rye barrel. So this.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And I haven't had it in a bottle out of the bottle yet. So you guys just got bottled the other day.
We have one for
Yeah,
us, and just one for you.
I'll get you first though, Steve, while you answer the question. Steve, tell us what you think.
I like stouts myself, and I think you guys do a really good job with book pajamas. And just keep your stouts up. Your Americana, the blonde stout, is wonderful. So I'm a big fan of it.
So I like the Polish style beer.
Oh, the Grzinski?
Yeah. So I'm like, it's a little bit smoky. It's light. It's at the 4.2 to 4.6%.
We've brewed one of those.
Did you?
Yeah. My I forgot what we called it, but my neighbor's mom, her name goes back to it. I'd have to go look it back up on tap. He's gonna be pissed at me. Sorry, Rick.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Dugan looks like he really wants one of those.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sitting here. I'm listening to you guys, but I'm looking.
I could be there in 5.
He's pretty close. I mean,
I could be there in 5 minutes.
I have a feeling he might be.
I got my slippers on, but I'll drive in the car in my slippers. And
looking at the guy, he looks like the guy on the desert island who's looking at the other guy that looks like a pork chop.
Did you see the drool? Is that what it was, Robbie? I was wiping my chin. Yeah.
You gotta wipe your screen off.
Yeah. Jesus. My
that
God.
is awesome.
Yeah, this is.
Chris didn't tell me there would be
cool.
tastings, or I would have been over there.
There was a reason.
Yeah,
we all could have sat right next to each other.
Yeah, we could have been, lapped up, and
Yeah.
we're close enough.
This is my favorite thing. So we've got barrel aged beer all over the place. That we we put it in the barrel, and then you got to wait for it. But when you start just going to taste the barrels. I'm a little kid. I follow the brewers around, and I'm like, give me a little bit more, give me a little bit more, give me a little more. It's my favorite style of beer. So this is great. So this is 13.3 quad. We've brewed a quad.
There we go.
We do like quads. Yep. But again, Belgian styles. We need to get them back out again. We haven't. There's not a lot of breweries doing Belgian styles because everybody got so far over into the Pilsners or the IPAs,
Mm-hmm.
so you got to go back and find some. But
so you've done triples, and
we've done, this was back in those first 90 beers that we did in the first year. We did all kinds of stuff.
So do you keep the recipes to these? Could you recreate these?
Yes, we can.
That's awesome.
The reason that we didn't do 90 beers ever after that again was the labels. It was the fact that we had to come up with names, and there's nothing that is more frustrating than 5 people sitting around going, what do you think of this name? What do you think of this name?
So Dugan at the end has some suggestions.
Oh, you got good ideas for names?
So,
do I?
Yeah.
I'm excited for the one I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Doug, is there anybody that you would really love to collaborate on a beer with, whether it's a sports figure, a musician, DPF, whoever? Is there somebody that you really like to collaborate with?
If it's a musician, tell Dan Campbell from Lansdale in the Wonder Years to come. He's played in our stage once before. He did a couple things, but we should make a beer with the Wonder Years. When it comes to breweries, I always look up to Trogs. Trogs is just, they've just done everything in such a great way. I love how they innovate. I love what they do. So they're great people. Sports players. I mean, Schwarber, my wife that's her favorite player. And if there's anybody else, I mean, I'd like to, work with Harper on that stuff too, but
he doesn't drink
Schwarbomb beer though, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking Treehouse.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see it.
It would be great, but we like our PA peeps,
That's true. Yeah,
but yeah,
so
there's a lot of great breweries,
yep.
and sometimes you learn a lot from going through that process. But sometimes you create these great relationships that you get to have all the time.
Yeah,
yeah.
But,
so Doug, looking forward, looking to the future, and let's just say 5 years, what would your dream scenario be for Well Crafted as far as would you like to open more locations, further your distribution, your reach, go somewhere you haven't been before, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of everything. In the beer world, you're kind of playing a stock portfolio now, right? You can't build one giant tap room and expect everybody to come.
Right.
So you have to kind of build these little pods. and the pods have to have their own life. They have to have their own meaning to them, like, so it can't be like, oh, there's 50 well-crafteds and you're like, oh, I go to them, because you don't want to franchise, right? You want to be like a thing. So no offense to my boys at Iron Hill. You guys are awesome. Seth, we love you guys. Thank you for collabing with us last. But yeah, you've got to kind of keep that identity. But at the same time, like, everybody drinks beer in a different way. So like, we're now in 31 counties in Pennsylvania. Wow. So, we actually are all the way up into Bloomsburg and the Scranton. Like, we need to get to Harrisburg. My email, like, I'm sending the emails like, hey, what do we got to get? But like, we have to slow roll it as well, because we don't want to go into a territory that doesn't know us. We need to like just get ourselves in there. So I think it's a little bit of all of that. Like, and I think when you look at it in the end, like the core, and like why I say Trogs in that realm is like, you still have to be able to brew different beers. What I don't want to be is a brewery that brews like one beer and everybody in the state knows it and they don't know anything else. Right. But I also have to like, continue to grow a little bit, because there's less drinkers, right? Like, so when there's less drinkers, you got to go further and you have to create reasons for them to drink. Well, that sounds really bad, doesn't it? Just be a Phil's fan, man. The reason to drink is
you're in a safe space. You're in a safe space.
But you also have to adjust your portfolio for those that may not drink alcohol. But like, we're all drinkers, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of a bad answer, because you're like, which one of these? And I'm like, everything. You got to do it all. So
right.
That's where the industry is right now. Like, the industry is in a place that like, not every seat is full at any of these breweries or restaurants. And like, you have to know that people just don't travel that much, and they kind of want to have an experience that's close to home. So like, you can't expect people to go. So except for Steve, I heard he went to like all of the stadiums in the country or something like that.
And I think every brewery in
every brewery.
Oh, he's been to every brewery.
Just not going to have baseball there.
So we're gonna put Steve's liver up on display next week in the background.
What's the strangest or funniest feedback you've gotten? Because throughout the years it has to happen, like, about one of your beers, whether it was good or not good.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it always comes back to like the world of somebody that tastes a sour beer and is like, I don't like sours. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, how did you do that? Right? Like, the smoked beers are always a great example of like, I didn't know that I like smoke. But I think that when it comes to just like people responding to the beer, it's really all kind of back to their what their tastes are, because you never know, right? And like, a lot of people will come in and be like, we don't like beer, and then we're like, well, let's talk a little bit about it,
Yeah.
But I wish I could tell you I had a really weird story where like they drank the beer and then they turned into a magician and then flew away or something like
it's
that.
It's a good point, though, because like, I'm like, oh, I don't like IPAs. And it's like, well, try this. This is not, it's not that, piney, sprucey IPA. And it's like, you don't not like all IPAs. Maybe you didn't like this particular one, but maybe you do like IPAs.
Yes. So. Yeah, it's and that's the thing. Like, people will give you like, and they get so animate about it. Like, that's like the thing that's in the beer world. Like, you have people that are so passionate. And they're like, this Kolsch does not taste like it came straight out of the original tank that was the Kolsch was made in. And like, you're like, no, we actually have never had that before. But then you get people that come in and they're like, we've learned about all these styles and this is what it is. And it's just fascinating to have such a passion, and have like these hobbyists, which is what makes the beer world amazing, that have actually tried so many of these beers that they can identify what it's like, And I think that's maybe like the thing, like, you get people that come to you and they're like, we were in this place in Germany and this tastes like that. And I'm like, I've never been to that place in Germany, but that's awesome, so.
I liked the word you used, hobbyist, because I use that with my wife at times, because I'm like, I don't have an issue. Like, it's a hobby. I'm just a hobbyist. I'm like, I'm just delving into different, hops and
I'm beer curious. That's what I'm beer curious.
Oh, you just tell her I'm going to a convention. It's not a convention, Chris. It's a fucking bar.
Yeah. Well, and that's also hilarious, right? Like, there's so many times that somebody will be at, like, I met a guy a couple weeks ago, great dude, and I was like, where do I know you from? And like, he hangs out at this bar that we used to eat lunch at every day. Wow. And then I went into the bar the other day. I was like, dude, it's good to see you, man. And it's like, there are people that like, it's just what they do. Like, it's how they communicate. So it's what they live. And that's why bartenders have to be like, hanging out with them. It's like, it's fun. And that is like a world that we often forget, is like those relationships are part of our life. It's the cheers moment,
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Yeah. So Chris teased it a couple minutes ago, but I got a number one beer for you. You're familiar with DPF. We have 75,000 followers on Facebook, 13,000 on Instagram, whatever the hell else on every other platform we have, probably close to 100,000 followers. So I got a beer for you, Muck the Fets Lager. That'll be your number one seller.
Yeah.
Or Pilsner.
Look at, he's got well-crafted crewery on there too.
Oh, that's
we played
we
with
get
the
a little
words,
bit, yeah.
So, that wasn't a knock. It was like funny as you're saying that.
I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
this birthday beer really did me in.
We'll bring you in for some names. Like, that would be great if you have some other ones. Like, what do you got for the Jets or like for the Giants?
Oh God, fuck
them
both.
too.
That's it. Just fuck them. Fuck the Jets. Fuck the Giants. Thanks for Saquon. Maybe that might
Dallas
be the
sucks.
Yeah, thanks for Saquon. That's
Thanks
a great
for Saquon.
We were trying to get creative with our cowboy burger today. I'm like, look, we don't need to bring the hate into the bar. I'm like, let's a cowboy burger.
You don't call it that anymore.
You don't want to chase
we stopped calling them cowboy burgers.
For at least during the Eagles
Now it's
season.
called the Rancher.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good one.
See, you're brainstorming right now.
The Tush Push Burger. Let's go. The Tush Push.
Yeah, that's
the Tush Push Burger.
That could.
Wasn't KC mad about that this week?
Everybody's mad about it.
Everybody's mad about it.
Everyone's mad about it except for.
You know what? As a Bills fan, like we like the tush push. We worked that too. And if KC didn't, like, that was the problem we had in our game with the tush push. Is like, I think we're gonna have better football this year because of what we did to KC at the end of the year. Except for
agreed.
You Eagles. I'm a big Eagles fan too. Like, we actually won that game, which is great. So,
Yeah. So, Doug, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit Philly stuff, but I want to give you a chance to kind of like talk about like what's a couple of the things that are happening next at either of the breweries, like events that we got to get people out there to see.
Yeah. Well, I think if you can check out our events page for Lansdale and just take a look at the music side of it, like, we do have trivia and everything else, but like, come hang out with me at the Foo Fighters stuff on Saturday. It's a $10 ticket. It's going to be awesome. Or come hang out with Petty next week. There's a lot of great stuff there. When it comes to Ambler, like, it's come out and hang out. We've got yappy hours on Sundays. Like, you can bring your dog out.
Is that Ruben Amaro?
What's that?
I thought it was
one of our announcers, like, he just won't shush.
Oh,
he's
gotcha.
just constantly. So, but that's awesome. Like, so you can bring your dog.
Yeah, you can bring your dog. But then tomorrow night's our food truck fest. So come out to that. It's going to be great. And like, again, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. So it's been awesome.
Oh my God, we've learned so much about beer, and we're thankful. We're going to talk about Phil. So if you want to hang out and
I might sit. Well, I'll sit here for a minute and drink some beer and listen. But I'm going to take it all in, or I'll go hang out with Steve. So if you guys see me just walk off the screen,
it's not because
Steve and I are going to be drinking the stout. Steve,
thanks a lot, Doug. This was awesome.
Thank you, Doug. We're going to have to stop in over there in Lansdale. Seriously.
So guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about would you rather play the Mets in the divisionals, or would you rather the Mets not make the playoffs?
This is an easy question. I don't want them. I don't want them in the playoffs just because fuck the Mets. We live by that.
Yeah.
So fuck the Mets. But I also want to play them because I want to beat them.
It's so tough. It's a double-edged sword, and that's Chris and I were talking about it yesterday. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we can beat them.
I feel the same way. I'm not afraid of the Mets, but here's my point, Butcher, and I think you'll agree with me. So the Mets last year go to the National League Championship Series and lose in 6 to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Then they spend $1 bazillion to get Juan Soto.
Yep.
So the 1 year I don't want them to make the playoffs is this year.
Agreed.
So just fuck you for spending that money and not making the playoffs, and then we'll just be in the playoffs every year after this.
I agree. I agree with that. And last year I said the one team I didn't want to run into in the playoffs was the Mets. I absolutely do not feel that this year. I don't feel that there's any team, especially in the National League, that I'm afraid of.
I'm just afraid of the Phillies. It's the same every year.
We're the easiest way to put it. We're the only team that can beat
Yeah.
the Phillies is themselves.
Correct.
Real quick, I'm just going to plug, jam in here. I took a look at the Phillies records against potential playoff teams, and I went as far down as the Giants because there's still only 2 games out. So the Brewers, the Phillies are 2-4 against. The Dodgers were 4-2 against. Cubs 4-2. Padres 3-3. The Mets were 6-7. Diamondbacks with 3 left to go were 2-1. The Reds were 3-3. The Giants were 3-4. So the Phillies have a 27-26 record against potential playoff opponents. But there's not a team on there that I'm not afraid of the Brewers.
No.
I'm not afraid of the Dodgers. The Phillies have handled the Dodgers the last 2 years. They've handled the Dodgers. The Cubs are a nice team. Not afraid of the Cubs. I mean, on this list, the only team that scares me is the Diamondbacks because they've beaten the Phillies. And the Phillies really struggle at Chase Field. That's the one team. And they're not even getting in. I think the Mets are going to be the last seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the Mets have righted the ship. And these other teams, they just haven't taken advantage of the Mets falling down for the last month.
That's the scary thing, is that the Mets have been stumbling all over themselves, and the Reds, like, none of these teams can just leap
The
them
Reds
and,
got
and
swept
stay
by
there.
the A's. They got swept by the A's when they had a chance to overtake the Mets.
That's where you get, like, where's the urgency for them guys?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the thing that we see with the Phillies now. Like, I just saw a stat. The Phillies are 20-8 since Wheeler got hurt.
Yeah, I saw that today too.
20-8. Like, really? Like, without your number one pitcher, you're 20-8.
The one thing about Milwaukee that kind of is that they do play a brand of baseball that we all endorse, and it's getting on base and stealing bases and running the base. Like, they do a really good job of that. Now, their pitching is good, but I think that's just because their team is good. Like, I don't think the pitchers are so dominant, and that's why they have 15, 16, whatever wins. I think it's because of the way they play and they score.
They're the number one seed because they've had 2 really good stretches this year where they've won 15-plus games in a row or something like that, like twice. But if you take, and you can't take that out.
They're streaky, though.
Yeah, they're streaky. They win a lot, they lose a lot.
Right.
And I'm not afraid of that team. I'm not afraid of that team,
So, Doug, we have a couple muck defets. They're like, absolutely do it. We have a couple of people on here already saying that. And so we have one of our other hosts, Mike. He is on his honeymoon, and I don't remember if it's Charleston or Savannah. He thinks Saquon Saison is a smart one. And I got to say, get the trademark in. We don't know nothing about that until it happens.
It's like an indescript logo with him jumping backwards over like somebody,
You can even do the Saison.
Yeah. The
Saquon
Saison. That's beautiful wordplay. So moving on to the playoff rotation, guys, it seems like it's going to be divisionals, and I would assume that we're going to go. And I don't care about left. I care about, quality pitchers in a row. I don't care. And, it's Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo, Nola, maybe switching Suarez and Luzardo because Luzardo's a wild card, right? So you may want to consider pitching him second just because he could shit the bed at some point. And Sanchez, that this guy is just a calming force and is able to play, in a way that Luzardo hasn't been there before.
I mean, there are 3 best starters right now.
Yep.
And there's no question. I think you look at who you're going to play, the matchups, you go into the splits and see, hopefully we should be at home because I think we're going to clinch at least the number 2 seed. Yeah. So look at Luzardo's home and away. Like last year, the Phillies definitely looked at Sanchez's home and away. we got a creeper. We had a creeper there.
That's awesome.
That was good.
They definitely looked at Sanchez's home and away, and they bumped him up to pitch at home. So I think I do the same thing with Luzardo. Look at his splits. Look at his, who our potential matchups are, what the makeup of their lineup will be. Does he dominate lefties? Does he dominate righties? Is he good at home? Is he good on the road? And then you make that decision. Who's going to be 2 or 3? I think Ranger has no pulse. You could pitch him, on an iceberg floating down the Atlantic, and he's going to pitch the same way no matter where he's at. But I think Luzardo, you can play, but you can't crowbar Nola into the top 3. You just
because he's right-handed. That's the only reason.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's what I was just thinking, is that Topper he's done a lot of things this year that he never did before that have kind of surprised us, even though he talks about, going left, right, left in the lineup. And then out of necessity, he kind of veered away from that for a little bit, and they actually performed. You had Marsh and stuff. You had these guys like stacked on top of each other, lefty, lefty, righty, righty. And I'm talking about the hitters. So that leads me to believe that, because even though Nola is the 4th best starter on this team out of these 4, he may try to squeeze him in and get him a home start.
Guys, I think Nola has to pitch from the stretch to start the game, because he's going to be there about the second batter.
His last game, what was it?
It should be just his bullpen should be just out of the stretch, right?
Exactly. Just start pitching out of the stretch.
It might be better for his mental health if he pitches on the road.
Yeah. Well,
because if he shits the bed here, it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's not going to be good at all.
I don't even want to see him until we need a 4th starter. I don't even want to see him.
Dude, what if and this ain't going to happen, but what if Topper fucking starts Walker Buehler game 4? I don't think Walker. Well, I mean, he pitched pretty decent his first start. Yeah, but will he, like you're about to say, will he be on the roster?
He's going to be on the roster, I think.
Definitely.
I don't think you make that move without the intention. I think Taijuan Walker's probably the odd man out as far as pitching.
And it's unfortunate,
I'm fine. Yeah, but I'm fine with that.
You know what though, Chris? He's having a typical Taijuan Walker season where the first 100 innings he's okay, and then after 100 innings, he turns to shit. He's got a 7.02 or 7.2 ERA in his last 5 starts. Like he has a wall, and once he hits that wall, it's over. I don't trust.
I think his wall's the first inning.
Wow.
Well, they're all doing this thing where they get touched up early, and then they settle in, and then they go
figure
6 or 7 innings, and I'm glad because
the problem is our offense takes 6 innings to get going. That's
it's like they're on the phone with their wives for most of the game, and then they're like, "All right, honey, I got to go fucking hit a double.
I got to hit a double. Yeah, I got to drive in a run here."
So Broken Bell is asking if Nola is the 9th best starter on the team, and I think there's some conjecture that may be true or not. Guys, playoff batting order. Moving forward. Turner's coming back. We saw him taking ground balls before the Lumineers concert. Is he someone who is going to then go back to the number 1 spot, or do you keep Bader?
I think it's got to be Trey.
Okay.
I'm looking at Bader stats, and since he moved, it's a small sample size. It's only 11 games, but he's hitting 349 as a leadoff hitter. My thing is, I think they have to be 1 and 2. Whether it's Bader, Turner, Bader, I think they have to be they're table setters, those 2 guys. And I think if you put those 2 in front of Schwarber and Harper, you're going to score a lot of freaking runs. So I think whatever happens, I don't necessarily think Turner was fantastic as a leadoff hitter. I mean, the guy was getting 3 hits every goddamn game.
Yes, he was.
So I'm fine with putting Turner back in the leadoff hole, but I think Bader needs to be in the top of that lineup to set the table for the Schwarbers, Harpers, Real Muto, he's slowed down, after a couple hot 3 months, he's cooled off. But,
so we'll all agree that it should be either Turner or Bader 1, 2.
Yeah.
Number 3 should be, to me, it's got to be Harper, and number 4 has got to be Schwarber, because someone's not going to pitch to Schwarber and they'll pitch to Harper. There's going to be that situation where they're going to pitch around Kyle Schwarber.
I think that's why I think Schwarber's 3. I think Schwarber's 3, and you protect Schwarber with Harper. Who's your guy?
Harper's not protecting him though, Chris. I would pitch around Kyle.
Harper's doing I would too, because Harper's more likely to hit.
So who's going to protect Harper? Who's going to protect Schwarber if he's batting 4?
That's the question.
I think if you have Harper,
another one.
Harper behind him is a lot better protection than fucking Castellanos or Bohm or Marsh, I would put Harper 4, Schwarber 3.
Yeah, Bohm getting healthy is going to kind of. I don't know if we're into
that lineups. It lengthens that lineup with Bohm. But I'm looking at Bohm as a 7 or 8 guy in this lineup.
Yeah,
Stott's probably the 9.
I think Stott likes being
he's a great 9.
I think he likes being in that spot too.
Yeah, he's a great 9.
There's less pressure.
Yeah. I think that's where he hits best. And it not only that, he gives you speed that if he gets on base, he turns that lineup over to speed. Like another speed guy in Turner, another speed guy in Bader. Like you got 3 guys in a row that can run.
And that's the other thing too. If you stick behind Schwarber's batting, let's say 4th, you have to have somebody who can leg out and beat a double play. So that's where, JT is quick, but he's not as fast as he used to be, and he has grounded into so many fucking double plays this year. So does that end up being Bader? Does Bader get dropped down in the lineup to protect those guys because he's got some speed? But
I could see Bader at the 5 hole. I could see
that's
Bader
what I'm saying.
5.
Yeah, that's possible, and he would protect, at that point, because then it's that left-right situation where you're going right, left, right.
But if you look at the splits, though, I think Schwarber and Harper are actually better this year against lefties than they are against righties. I know Schwarber is.
Yeah.
And I think Harper has the same kind of splits where he's better against left-handed pitching, which is odd. I mean, it's crazy to say, but they're both better against left-handed pitching. I mean, I think we saw Harper a little bit in this Dodger series. He had a big double, in the first game of the series to kind of get them back to within a run. Then he hit the double to kind of get that rally going in the second game that they came back and won. So I'm hoping we're starting to see October Harper, manifest. And he looked like he was having fun when they won that first game, and he got the ground ball that ended that game, and he glove punched David Robertson. I said, okay, that looks like Bryce Harper to me. That looks like a guy that
we saw him in the locker room. He was pounding the juicy juices. He was like, all these apple juices he was having.
Yeah, but I think the playoff roster is going to be interesting because I think it's going to come down to Walker Buehler or Taijuan Walker. I think that's the pitching move. And then I think on the offensive side, it's Otto Kemp and
Weston
Wilson. And I'm going Kemp.
I'm going Kemp.
Sure.
I think Kemp's my guy. Although I think Wilson gives you more flexibility from the defensive side because he can play second base, he can play third, he can play left field, he can play first. Where I think Kemp's more of a corner infielder, and he's not great in the outfield. But I'm gonna throw a wild card at you, and I think he's going to be on the roster, and I think it's going to be Johan Rojas.
I was going to say, don't say it.
I think he's going to be, and I think it's going to be because of Castellanos' defensive liability. You're going to grab another guy that you bring Rojas up, he can play defense and he can run the bases. So you got a pinch runner and you got a defensive specialist for late in the game. And I think Rojas, he's hitting 280 too since he got dropped down to AAA.
That does nothing for me.
It doesn't. I'm not putting him in the lineup, Rob. I'm just saying.
I know. But to have that speed and the glove for the guts of the game, when you have to take fucking Castellanos.
I mean, can you imagine having an outfield? Kepler's a really good right fielder. Marsh is a really good left fielder. Bader can play all 3 positions. You could have an outfielder of Bader in left, Rojas in center, Marsh in right, or Bader in left, Marsh, Rojas in center, Kepler in right. It's a really solid defensive outfield. However you mix and match it,
Right.
Guys, we're getting to be about that time, and I want to, we've been talking really deep, important questions, and I want to pose one of the most important questions to kind of wrap up the show. Does Stubbs make the team? And if he doesn't, does he travel with the team for the vibes?
He does not make the team. He does not make the team.
He can buy tickets.
He travels.
He's a good vibe guy.
You think he travels?
I think he's important to the vibe of this team. I think he's an important dugout guy. I think he's an important clubhouse guy. I think he's like a glue guy. He's one of those glue guys.
Yeah,
I think the team really likes him. I think they really, they want him there.
And no one talked about who brought the beer bong. We know it was Garrett Stubbs. We know it. No one has to say it. We know it's him. We didn't see it before. Then this dude's here, and he's like, he's having like John Middleton beer bong, and it's like that was fun. That looked fun. That's one of those nights, and it's only happened 13, times where we've won this division. It's important. It's special. It doesn't matter that the team below us is 12, or 13 or whatever they're going to be.
It's because we fucking buried them. That's why they're that far back.
That's
because we fucking buried them.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm going to close the show with, I think I'm going to name my mead Bury the Mets. Because I'm going to put Bury in it, and it was initially brewed the day that we swept them. Steve was back there taking a little tug of it, and I was like, "It's too early, Steve." But closing thoughts: what are your final Phillies win total?
What do we got?
Jesus Christ.
11 games left? 10 games? What do we got left?
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
I think it's 11.
11. And where are we at now?
90.
91? Are we at 91?
91. We got 91.
Yeah.
91 and 62.
97 wins for the Phils.
Okay.
I'll go one more. I'll go 98.
So I think if the Brewers clinch number 1 seed, the Phillies clinch number 2, they'll shut it down a little bit.
That fucking worries me, though, especially if they're going to have the bye.
I want the bye. I think our pitching staff is stretched. I think give them the extra time, I'd give them the extra time. I want it, and I think this team's too veteran to let that time off really affect them. And could you imagine if it's the Dodgers that come in here? Because that could be the team. We're gonna have heart attacks for 5 straight nights. It's gonna be an incredible series.
Yeah,
just 2 good teams beating the shit out of each other, and
yeah,
I'm here for it.
Which is what you want.
I'm here for good
absolutely.
baseball. I'm here for good baseball. Yeah,
exactly. We're here. We're here, fellas. We made it. You know what I mean? We're here.
Might as well win it all. I'm at 97. I wanted to thank you to, Doug, and drink Philly-O. I think that this is the one that you should drink. So I don't know if you have it with you, Chris, to be able to show it in front of the camera. But this one is it's so Philly. Look at it. It's red. It's blue. It's just a great, easy drinking
and it's
drink.
Fucking good.
Yeah. And, let's have this for the playoffs. And it's going to be all of October. Let's have Philly-O. Drink the other ones, too. Head to Ambler for the birthday party tomorrow in the food trucks. And check out Lansdale for the vibrant music scene there. So 2 different vibes, great beers. If you are going to a, one of your local places and they don't have well-crafted, ask them to get it. Ask us. We'll tell you where to get it. And they're going to get it in. So thank you again, Doug. And, we want to close it off and cheers. I love that. So fuck the Mets and let's see, 97 to 98 wins, I guess we're saying. So good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.
Fuck the Mets.